Hello again. Here for morning devotions. I'm going to once again read from a prayer from the HarperCollins book of prayers. Okay, let's just pick one at random. Henry Suso, S-U-S-O. He lived from 1295 to 1366. And it says about him, having joined the Dominicans at the age of 13, he endured 15 years of depression when prayer seemed a meaningless ritual. Then he experienced an intense mystical experience in which his own mind seemed to be taken up into the wisdom of God. He continued to suffer periods of depression, but even at their worst, he now felt able to communicate with God. His spiritual autobiography records his dialogue with God, but in joy and in sadness. I'll read the first one of his. I don't know. I've never read one of his before, and I'm eager to look at it and pray with it with you. Some of you may know that I have problems with depression too, and today has not been I'm doing this in the evening for the next day, so today hasn't been a great day. But that's okay. I'm going to give it all over to God and start again. So this is the first prayer of his, and it's called In Love with God. Oh, Lord, you can show yourself to us as so beautiful and tender that our hearts cannot help but fall in love with you. We yearn to be close to you. As we read the pages of Scripture, it is as if we are whispering sweet words of affection in our ears. So overwhelming is your love that it leaves no space for mortal love between men and women. Oh, my dear Lord, my soul sighs for you. And when I cannot hear you speak, my heart is heavy with sadness. Unless you are close beside me, I cannot rest or sleep. Let me lie beside you, my head on your bosom. This reminds me of the Psalms, David longing to be close to God. It reminds me of other mystics who want to experience the heart of God. One thing I keep saying, whether you're religious or spiritual or what you call yourself, we don't want to sit around talking about God. We'd rather experience God and then talk about God together. And sometimes whom he calls Lord and I call Jesus, it's like a love affair, a physical human love affair. A lot of things in the Scriptures are there as the perfect example of something not perfect. Good, but not perfect on earth. So this would be love, a deep, deep longing to be with someone and just to be in God's presence and soak up that love and joy in a pure way, not in a physical way. I'll read through this step by step. Ah, Lord, you show yourself to us so beautiful and tender that our hearts cannot help but fall in love with you. And that's what I mean, the beautiful and tender. The heart's falling in love with you. He recognizes that Jesus is beautiful and tender to others, not just himself. So he does pray for inclusive of others. Jesus, you've always been so beautiful to me and tender. Sometimes I take advantage of that. Henry says, we yearn to be close to you. As we read the pages of Scripture, it is as if you are whispering sweet words of affection in our ears. when you're reading the scriptures, don't you feel sometimes that words just bounce out at you? Some words just sort of pop and say, hey, this is what God is saying to your heart right now. And that makes you feel so loved and so that God thinks about you. This is just an awesome thing. So here, Henry is feeling the same thing. As he reads scripture, he feels as if God's whispering in his ear. Henry continues, so overwhelming is your love that it leaves no space for mortal love between men and women. I think I would argue with that one. I think it would enhance love between a man and a woman. But I can see what he means. I mean, love between two people is awesome, awe-inspiring, especially in the beginning of a relationship. And it's like you don't have room for anything else in your life. As you grow and that love mellows, it doesn't take up every occupying moment of your thoughts anymore. But you still love deeply, but it's at a different level. It's like we wait until then almost to go to God and say, God, I need your love today. I need your love today. It's said that God leaves a hole in every heart that only God can fill, that another relationship with another person can't fill. It's got to be God filling it for you. And I think that's what he's alluding to here. Oh, dear Lord, my soul sighs for you. And when I cannot hear you speak, my heart is heavy with sadness. You know, sometimes when you have depression and that, you just can't pray. You just feel like you're so lonely and so distant from God sometimes that you just can't pray. Your heart being heavy with sadness. That when the next time you feel God's touch, it's made all the sweeter. Made all the sweeter by having felt the emptiness as well. When he feels God isn't near, his heart is heavy with sadness. Unless you are close beside me, I cannot rest or sleep. You know, when you have depression, it's hard sometimes to get to sleep. It's hard to turn your brain off enough to think about things that would help you relax and rest. That's a fantastic time to pray when you feel like you can't sleep, that you can rustle around. And prayer isn't just giving all of your worries and cares over to Jesus. That's part of it. But it's also opening our heart to receive the love, to thinking about how wonderful God is, the gifts that God has given you, the gratitude that fills your heart for Jesus being with you every single day, for Spirit being your guide every single day. When you concentrate on those good things, it's easier to fall asleep. You get to a point where it's like, you know what, God, this is all feels awful to me, but I know you are still larger than this. You are still more capable of this than I am. You know what's going on behind the scenes. You know what plans you have for me. So therefore, I'm going to leave it in your lap. I'm going to leave myself curled up in your lap. Like a little lamb on Jesus' lap, or as a child sitting on a parent's lap. With pure familial love. Let me lie beside you, my head on your bosom. That's the image that I get. Just sitting on Jesus' lap. Whether I'm a little lamb or a young child. I can picture myself there. And I get this sense that Jesus' robes are like sheets that are freshly hung out on the wash line. When they come in, there is no fresh scent that beats that. When I imagine myself sitting in Jesus' lap, I imagine that his robes smell freshly dried sheets. Imagine yourself there for a moment. Place yourself there on Jesus' lap. Your shepherd who is caring for you and watching over you and leading you to green pastures and restoring your soul. Feel his arms around you. Ah, Lord, you show yourself to us as so beautiful and tender that our hearts cannot help but fall in love with you. We yearn to be close to you. As we read the pages of Scripture, it is as if you are whispering sweet words of affection in our ears. So overwhelming is your love that it leaves no space for mortal love between men and women. Oh, dear Lord, my soul sighs for you, and when I cannot hear you speak, my heart is heavy with sadness. Unless you are close beside me, I cannot rest or sleep. Let me lie beside you, my head on your bosom. Feel free to stay in this prayer position for as long as you need to.